Hi guys, Afternoon here.
And the random French potato.
And today we're going to be talking about, like, TV shows, games, and movies, stuff like that.
We're going to be talking about a lot of the stuff that's, in the entertainment category, like that, and, like, some of the specific stuff in it. So, I think he's going to start us off, with our first subject. Okay,
well, before I do that, I just want to tell you guys what we're doing. This is sort of this new thing that we're trying out. It's sort of like a podcast almost, but we just talk about things. I really wish we could have Keani do this with us, but yeah. Keani actually he moved. But I'm not sure if he moved states or houses or just neighborhoods. So I'd have to ask him about that. But anyway, let's get into our first subject. Superhero trailers. So there are new trailers like Black Panther, Inhumans, the TV show, Spider-Man, Avengers 3 was like a little teaser. Oh yeah, and stuff like Justice League also came out a little while ago, and they look good, most of them.
I love how you hesitate to say most of them.
So with like Inhumans, I found out about them a while ago, but I wasn't really interested. Now that the trailer came out for the TV show, I'm still not too interested because it's sort of just like it seems really boring because we don't I don't know any of the characters. I've never seen any of the actors, and I can't really say that I'm interested in. I mean, the rest of them seem alright, but with the Inhumans, they're Marvel and DC are making a lot of TV shows. DC has stuff like Gotham, Arrow, The Flash, but with all of them, I just really did not seem interested because stuff like the Flash, because DC, I do really like DC, but with the whole universe thing, it sort of just makes things way too complicated. And with Flash, being able to run really fast and create freaking dimensions or whatever the hell. It sort of just, it's really complicated, and it makes me lose interest.
I think it's kind of funny how I just realized today that Inhumans isn't a show. It is a show, but it's not a movie. I thought it actually was a movie. But it's kind of funny since, how Marvel has all these shows currently airing, and this one's, going to have to compete with them. And since it's already got, a stigma of being boring and really unknown to the community, I don't think it's going to fare well amongst the other, already popular shows that Marvel has out, like Flash, for example.
That Flash isn't Marvel.
Oh, it isn't?
No, it's DC.
Oh,
what I was talking about was like Flash, Arrow. That's all DC.
Oh, I'm stupid. But but there's obviously other examples. There's one other.
There's S.H.I.E.L.D. Actually, did that get canceled? I think it did. Right?
Yeah.
S.H.I.E.L.D. But they do have stuff like Luke Cage.
Yeah, Luke Cage was who I was thinking of. Thank you. But
They have Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, I think, and those characters are sort of getting together, like getting like this little group sorted out. But I wasn't at all interested in any of them.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they just seem like boring characters. Because Iron Fist is, he can beat people up pretty good, because he has Iron Fist. Luke Cage is pretty much immortal, so he's pretty strong, I guess, and, he can beat people up pretty good. I don't even know who Jessica Jones is. I've never seen that show because I've seen a couple episodes of Luke Cage, but actually not Iron Fist. But yeah, with any of them, because I think what Marvel is doing is taking the lesser known characters and trying to make them a little more popular, which is working, just not for me. So, because I do know people like Iron Fist, but I have never heard of people like Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. But, the fact that I know who those people are now does mean that Marvel's introducing these characters is working.
Yeah, and it's because of these shows. But, I think just by doing that so many times, it kind of overloads it a bit, which can garner some negative feedback. But the thing is, with the trailer for Inhumans, it looked, pretty bland. It was not at all like a mind-blowing trailer to like a movie or a TV show you would, you could see nowadays. But maybe the trailer just doesn't do it enough justice, and maybe once actual episodes air, we're gonna see a lot more interesting dynamics with the characters.
I really hope that is what the case is.
Yeah.
Because I don't really care about the Inhumans that much, but I want to, which is why making the show and everything seem interesting is so important, especially to the people that don't know who these characters are.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking when I first watched the trailer. Like, I want to think this will turn out to be a good show, but at the back of my mind, I feel kind of unimpressed by this trailer. And yeah, it does seem boring, but hopefully, again, they'll add some more interesting dynamics to the show, and maybe we could see that sort of things once the actual episodes air.
So, now let's, get into stuff, Black Panther and the new Spider-Man trailer. I've noticed that in both of those trailers, the Vulture and Spider-Man and some other character from Black Panther, I don't really know who he is, they both said that the world's changing. Which I'm not sure if that's a way to sort of relate the two situations. And with Black Panther, like we were talking before, we were talking about how we don't know any of the characters, which makes us lose interest. And for Black Panther, I don't know a lot of the characters, but I do know who the Black Panther is, the main villain.
Where he comes from.
Yeah, I think Ross was in there. So I know those characters, which gets me interested to see it, but I don't know these other characters. So that leaves me interested to find out who they are, which I really think these trailers do better than the TV shows, is sort of get you to want to find out who the characters are.
Yeah. With Spider-Man, that should be interesting because we have yet again another actor playing Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
This is let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've had 6 movies since 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah, since 2002.
So yeah, kind of a lot, and within those movies, there's a lot of range for that character since he goes through a lot of different emotional development. And say what you will about emo Spider-Man, but he did add to that movie in a way. So with this new actor playing him, I wonder how he's gonna compare to the last 2 movies. I wonder if I might even like him more, even though that we've had like constant reboots of this particular character.
But this, what I really think is getting me excited for this Spider-Man is the fact that Marvel is making this one. Because with the Amazing Spider-Man, that was made, the movies were made by Sony, and I really think that it's going to be a lot better with Marvel because they know their own character.
Yeah, they know their own franchise and how that character, more importantly, relates with all the other Avengers.
Also, one thing I'm really excited about for Spider-Man is Michael Keaton. You know who that is, right?
No.
Jesus. He played, he was in Beetlejuice, or he was Beetlejuice. He was also Batman in 1989. And he was also, he was in a movie called Birdman. Wow. I haven't seen that actually, but it was popular, I think. And now he's playing the Vulture. So he's been, he's kind of flying around since 1989.
I'm too damn young to know who that is. I'm sorry,
but with Avengers 3, there's not really much to talk about. It just shows Thanos kind of getting the little glove, and then he has to collect the Infinity Stones so he can rule the galaxy or whatever. But I'm really
rule the galaxy. Same story we've heard before.
Yeah, it kind of, because some of them want to take over Earth, like Loki, and this it just kind of seems like we've heard this before.
Yeah. But
I'm really excited to see all of the characters, working together, and people like Doctor Strange, who hasn't been in the Avengers or worked with them before in these movies. I think that will really be interesting. And characters that we haven't really known a lot about, like Black Panther, who was in Civil War, but hasn't really worked with any of the other Avengers that much. So, yeah, let's move on to the trailers that we don't know. I have a little tab open up here. So, actually, I do know Jumanji. I saw the original one.
Yeah.
The new one just sort of seems like a completely different movie with the same title.
Yeah.
Because it really just, from what it looks like, it seems like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and the thing is, I also watched the one, before this that's already made with
Robin Williams.
Yeah, Robin Williams, and compared to this one, yeah, you're right. It looks a lot more like Jurassic Park because I at first think it wasn't too much of a stretch to have, a video game instead of like a board game.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
with the original one, they were trying to keep the monsters from, destroying the city. But with this one, there's really no consequences except for them dying.
Yeah.
And it sort of just seems like they're trying to be a little more like hip with the kids.
Yeah.
Because they have, it's a video game instead of a board game. And also, there's an Uncharted 4 poster in the back. And I really, because the whole video game thing just kind of takes away from the feel of Jumanji.
Yeah, I found it really funny to think about how obviously they discover a video game, like this old video game from the 80s. Now, in the original one, it's supposed to also be like this ancient board game, like really old. But this one, it's funny how it's supposed to be like this really old NES game. But I think it's, well, like one of the older...
N64?
Yeah,
or
whatever.
Like PlayStation 1 or Xbox One. Like
Not-
the Xbox One,
No,
not
not-
freaking whatever the hell
Not
they have
that
now.
new, but like I think it's funny they try to portray it.
It came out like the same time. Actually, PlayStation 1 came out before the N64, I think. Like a year before.
The thing is, it's funny how they try to portray this as like really old when my parents grew up with these like type of games and the pixely games that you see in the
Pixely.
yeah
8-bit.
the 8-bit game. Sorry, I couldn't find the
Also,
word
NES can't render 3D models.
okay, cool.
The SNES sort of can, like with Star Fox, that are like polygonal shapes. Alright, so here's the Cult of Show. Remember when we had those, we had kids, well, no, we didn't have kids, but there were these kids, they came over,
That was unexpected.
it was like this family that came over, family friends, and they had kids, and their son liked Chucky. How old he had to be like 5
Yeah,
5 or 6,
5-ish.
and he loved Chucky, and whenever somebody died he would just like burst out laughing. It was a little weird, it was a little creepy, but
Honestly, I could relate to that because some horror movies to me are so like overdone. They're almost like comedy movies to me, and that's not like a bad thing, but I think it's kind of funny that it went into this like totally unexpected direction.
so yeah, they have a new Chucky, Foreigner trailer, I don't know what that is, Fatliner is, Stronger trailer, Pitch Perfect 3, remember when we watched that at Nova's house, like the first one?
Yeah.
That does not seem interesting at all. I saw a poster for Daddy's Home 2 with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg.
Where?
I don't know. But Happy Death Day, really interesting. Black Panther, I've already seen that.
Jumanji again.
Oh, yeah, Jumanji. What's that guy's name? He was Die Hard guy.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, Bruce Willis.
It always takes me like 3 minutes each to recognize it.
I actually saw part of the Polaroid trailer because, it was the name of a camera, and I'm like, what is this? Is it like, why is it the name of a camera? And it turns out the camera's like haunted or something.
Kind of like how the mirror is haunted in like every horror movie.
Yeah.
But it's just a camera here.
Something. Power Rangers, I heard that was really, or not really bad, but it looks really bad.
I heard some people thought it was pretty interesting or pretty good, but I forgot what argument they made for it though.
Was it Krispy Kreme?
Krispy Kreme. Yeah, they kind of overdid it a little bit with the
Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, with the product placement.
So here's the Inhumans show. We already talked about that. So that's all that's there. Nothing too interesting.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, War of the Planet of the Apes. I'm actually really excited to see how the series is gonna end, cause I really thought that one of the movies would show like, you know how the past Planet of the Apes movies were, where like you have this character, and like since the start of the movie, it's been inhabited like and taken over by the apes, but with this new trilogy, it sort of shows how everything began. And for War of the Planet of the Apes, I think it'll sort of end where normally it should start.
Yeah.
So, like, if they did make a fourth movie, it would start, like, from start to finish of the movie, it would have it all taken over by the apes.
All of the apey goodness. The whole 2 hours of the film.
So nothing else really.
Nothing too interesting, yeah.
Yeah, that's all that is. Oh yeah, game trailers. So E3 happened. Is it still going on? I think, I don't know. I don't care either.
Yeah.
So, man, I just typed in game trailers and it just comes up with like the best upcoming games. Like, I just want individual ones. So, see Super Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
That seems really weird. Like Mario, it reminds me of Sonic 06, where Sonic is like this weird cartoon animated character going around with other humans. But this is gonna be better than Sonic 06.
Yeah, like a whole world with humans. It is weird. It's a weird concept,
but you can go into other worlds.
Yeah,
I just think the New York setting is the weirdest. So, yeah, Battlefront 2, the trailer for that came out, which I really desperately want.
Yes.
It's like, cause when I got Battlefront, I was expecting a lot more, and wasn't really what I thought it was gonna be. Cause I thought there would be like some sort of campaign mode. There is, I think, a single player where you can just do certain missions, but other than that, it's mostly multiplayer. Yeah. And besides going around shooting people, the most fun you can have with that game is probably the fighter squadron, or playing as like Darth Vader or somebody. But that's really all that was in that. But with Battlefront 2, you can play. What I'm really excited about is the prequels with the clones and the droids. That should be the most interesting.
So, me in particular, I'm most excited about
Battlefront 2.
Yeah, Battlefront 2. Out of all of the upcoming games. First thing, because arguably for me there isn't really much to see coming up this year, but about Battlefront 2, or about Battlefront in particular, when I got the first game, it kind of rekindled my love for Star Wars.
Like the one that we have now?
Yeah, just Battlefront.
Yeah.
And so, I did a lot of research and played this game a lot, and like he said, I expected a lot more because there's no campaign mode and all the good maps are on like the DLC and stuff.
Yep.
So with this, but like the biggest flaw I think with the limited content for Battlefront is it only goes from one era. Now when I played on the original PS2 version, that was
with Pandemic, made by Pandemic.
Yeah, that was the game of my childhood, and I remember like distinctly playing as like the Empire and the clones or whatever.
I remember the Wookiee map where all the
Kashyyyk.
Yeah, Kashyyyk.
But anyways, I was hoping for that for. Well, I wasn't hoping because I already knew, but I kind of wished it was there. But now that we get a chance to have like Clone Wars era maps and like the stuff with the First Order, which should be pretty interesting to play as, I'm really hyped for this because it seems like this game definitely has a lot more to offer than its predecessor. And that's what I think should be most interesting.
It reminds me of the original Pandemic games, because you could do all that, like the space battles. I think they had a campaign mode even, but I'm not really sure. And, Battlefront, the original one, or like the one that we have now, isn't any of those things, but Battlefront 2 should really be the game that I was expecting. So I'm gonna have to, when that game comes out, I probably should look into it a little more than I did with, Battlefront 1. So,
there's also World War II coming up.
Well, yeah. World War 3.
Yeah.
World War 3 is next.
In a game trailer near you.
So Call of Duty World War II is really interesting because I'm excited for the campaign mode, mostly, because multiplayer seems like it's not going to be anything new. It's just... honestly, it does look like Battlefield 1 in the multiplayer, but I really do think that the campaign mode is going to be a lot better than multiplayer. And also, they're going to have zombies in it, which is going to be pretty cool. Going to kill some zombies. But what I am most excited for, and I know a lot of you probably don't agree with me for this, but Modern Warfare Remastered, because I played Modern Warfare 2, which is the best Call of Duty game I've ever played. And then Call of Duty Black Ops, the first one, is like second to that. But Modern Warfare Remastered, because I also, at the time I didn't like it, but we had Modern Warfare 3, and looking back on it now, that I'd be really excited to own that game again. So I had MW2 and 3, but I have not played Modern Warfare, and I can get the PC version for it, but I think remastered, just playing it on console is better, and it seems pretty interesting.
The thing about remastered is I'm kind of mad, and I haven't even played COD in a long time, but I'm kind of mad that they at first required you to buy that with Infinite Warfare.
Yeah, that's
definitely a red flag that they're only in it for the money in this case. But for once they separated the game, they made it their own separate, like sales of the game.
That's kind of a middle finger to the guy, to the people that had owned the Infinite Warfare and Modern Warfare Remastered,
that was exactly what I was about to say. But
I was really considering buying that. Like but I probably would have just sold Infinite Warfare.
Yeah,
and kept Modern Warfare.
I could see how a lot of gamers could be mad about that. But yeah, it was. COD is kind of around a stigma that it's only in it for the money. And I could see that more or less now. Especially since, the recent games they've produced, like Infinite Warfare, for example. But I think the new World War II game is... I think COD trying to express itself that it wants to plant itself back into its roots, basically.
Yeah, because one of their classic games was World at War. That was a game that a lot of people played, and it was their favorites. And it took place in World War II, which is the new, obviously the new game, which is really something that I'm really looking forward to. It's sort of like one of their old games, but made newer.
Aside from the controversies about, the actual content within the game, I completely support what COD is doing, trying to make this new game in World War II. But they picked the exact wrong time to do it.
Yeah, right after Battlefield. Well, actually,
they could not have chose a more awful.
But they did start making the game. I think it was 2015 was when they started to make it, and usually they put a game out once a year, but this time it took them 2 years. It's not really that interesting, but they started making it 1 year before Battlefield 1 was released, but I'm not sure. I think they did start making it after Battlefield 1 was announced.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're trying to intentionally rip off Battlefield 1, but I just think that if they, in their mind, Battlefield 1 just came out, or at least a trailer, and people are getting pretty excited about it, and they probably just thought it was about time to go back to World War II.
Yeah, it's kind of a terrible, terrible shame that
they had to do it right then.
They're releasing the game at the time it is. Because when I saw people actually playing the game and reviewing it and shooting the guns too, the thing about it is the graphics, the guns in there, it looks like Battlefield 1. I'm not gonna lie, but it's slightly worse actually. And the thing is, I really want to buy and be hyped for this game, but the thing is, I feel like I'm just gonna end up owning a slightly worse version of the game I already have, which is Battlefield 1. And I feel, so bad about doing this because, I grew up, well, I didn't grow up, but I spent a lot of, time and hours playing COD. And I exclusively played COD, and, I didn't think much of Battlefield until Battlefield 1 came out. So, I think, again, it's unfortunate that they don't have the right content nor timing to, execute a proper, comeback within their franchise.
Yeah, I guess. I was paying attention. I just kind of just want to move on from COD right now. So, one game that already came out, I think in May, Friday the 13th. You don't think much of this, but
No, I don't really.
but I really do like Friday the 13th, and I really like what they did with the retro Jason. Oh, they got the little blue skin for him, and it really looks interesting. I think with a couple of bug fixes, it could be a really great game. And well, it already is right now, but actually when it launched, it had like mixed reviews. I think that was mostly because of the server issue, because it would take so long to connect you to a server. But they fixed all that. So another thing that a lot of people are talking about right now is Crash Bandicoot.
It's funny how you were just talking about Friday the 13th,
and then you go to a cartoon.
No, it's funny how you were talking about Friday the 13th, and you completely gave your own comments because, I had a bunch of things to say about, Friday the 13th, but then you, directly move on to a game that I have zero knowledge of, at all.
Well, Crash Bandicoot, I saw, some gameplay through ads.
Through ads?
Yeah, through, just ads of what the game looks like. And I never played Crash Bandicoot, so I don't really care that they're making, a remastered version of it. But I do think it is cool that they are doing that because a lot of people grew up with Crash Bandicoot and they're banking a remastered version of it, which I think is pretty cool. But a lot of games are doing remastered games, where a lot of people are making remastered games. Like Modern Warfare Remastered, they're making a Return to Arkham, which is remastered of the Batman Arkham games, like Asylum and Arkham City, and Crash Bandicoot Remastered. There's a couple of other ones that I can think of, but I can't remember the names.
So
not right now.
With the whole remakes in the movie business, and how people have been complaining about it for a number of years in recent times, do you think that's kind of manifesting itself within the gaming community, within within games?
Like with people not wanting to, or not liking the remastered versions, or with
no,
just people making them.
I might have phrased that a bit wrong, but with just people making remastered versions of old games.
With them what? You just started that sentence with them.
Well, with game producers making just producing new games by simply upping the games they've already made.
Like, what do I think about that?
Yeah.
I kind of like that they're doing that because it's sort of a way to get the games like and Wipeout. They're making Wipeout remastered, which I actually do want.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a good way to get games like PS, like PlayStation 2 and 3, maybe even PlayStation 1 onto PlayStation 4. But with games like, for example, Watch Dogs, or Grand Theft Auto 5 even, those games were released for Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and then they were also released for PlayStation 4. But there are games released for PlayStation 3 that are getting remastered into PlayStation 4, like games like we were just talking about one, right? Oh yeah, no, yeah, Wipeout.
Yeah.
Wipeout and The Last of Us were both PlayStation 3 games, but were remastered onto PlayStation 4, which, I mean, a remastered game is sort of just the same game with better graphics and sound, which is pretty much what automatically happens when you go from like PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4. You're not going to keep those same graphics of PlayStation 3.
Yeah,
So
because it's on a newer platform.
yeah, so they're sort of just calling it remastered, but it's just better graphics.
I think I do kind of enjoy that they're remastering old games from previous consoles, because I really enjoy playing those games, those old games, but I also want to play them from the comfort of my PS4. But the thing is, I feel like they're not. I feel like once whoever produces these games continually run out of original ideas, they're gonna keep doing this, and it's gonna get very old very quickly, and the benefits are gonna start to wear off. But I hope it doesn't become like the movie industry, and they have to basically make add-on games, or keep on making remastered games to fill that kind of void.
Actually, we're gonna talk about that later in the video. But actually, I'm gonna go back to what you were gonna say about Friday the 13th, because we kind of just skipped over that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The thing with Friday the 13th is it's a game based on a horror movie, which sounds promising. I mean, there are a lot of horror games out there that are genuinely good, that have positive feedback. But the thing is, with Friday the 13th, I'm just afraid that they're not gonna simply have enough content, because there are some games which have so much content. I feel like a kid in the candy store trying to figure out what I should do. But with Friday the 13th, the thing is, I'm afraid they're only gonna have one particular aspect that a lot of people like about this game, and that's gonna be it. With I already have a short attention span for video games as it is, but if I in my opinion, if I try to, or if I think about playing this game, I think I'm gonna get bored pretty quickly.
Actually, they are making a campaign mode, which is coming, and I do hope that they add more content also, maybe different game modes, which campaign should be exciting. We've been talking about the games for a while, but
yeah,
we've been talking about certain individual games for this time. So let's talk about Infamous. I think that game is super underrated. The original 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Because the first one, the first and second one, both have a really interesting story, and I like how they, the two games sort of work together, because with the events in the first one, because there's this whole time travel because I'm not really sure how to explain it, because it would take a while, but pretty much there's a delivery boy who's just delivering some stuff, and he has this bomb that explodes, and it gives certain people superpowers, and the main character has to defeat the main villain, and the city gets turned into drug dealers get turned into these things called the Reapers. Homeless people get turned into...
They build their own faction.
Yeah, they build their own faction. They pretty much become homeless warriors. And they're called Dustmen.
So the thing is, assuming you already know, a bit about what Infamous is, it's funny because when, I first got the Infamous game for the first one for my birthday in like 2010, I was kind of disinterested, but I did like some aspects of the game. And eventually it became a very beloved game to me because me and him kind of like it for different reasons. He really is into the story arc and, the actual story behind the game. I, however, am not so interested in that, sort of thing, and I actually like the mechanics and gameplay of it.
Yeah, I like how, because, the main character has superpowers, his power is he can shock things. He's like an electric guy. And he can do some pretty cool stuff and has some really interesting combat. And especially in the second game, they give you sort of like an electric sword, and you can just hit people around with it. It's a really fun game.
The thing with it though that I realize now is it has like kind of a really good balance between the story and the gameplay. Because as I mentioned, me and him like it for different reasons. Like he likes the story more, I like the gameplay. But the thing is with the story, it almost makes it like you're playing a comic book, which is really cool because it's very engaging.
And my favorite part about the game is you can choose if you want to be good or bad.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Which, unlike Mass Effect, affects the end of the game.
Yeah. It that's a big part of all of those games is that alternate storylines are a big thing, and your decisions, didn't genuinely affect them. But that's just another interesting thing about the game that I really like.
Is there any other stuff there?
Oh.
So, I guess we can start going into movies. Yeah, right. So, you guys have seen movies like Terminator, RoboCop, Back to the Future. Those are
80s movies.
Yeah, 80s movies. Die Hard. All that stuff is
definitely 80s movie.
Yeah, but I really think that now they're revisiting those movies a lot because with like Star Wars, they made an Episode 8 and also Rogue One, and with Jurassic Park, we haven't heard from Star Wars since the prequels, and now all of a sudden they're making The Force Awakens. And same thing with Jurassic Park. We haven't heard about Jurassic Park since Jurassic Park 3. And the new one, Jurassic World, is coming out all of this. Well, that already did come out.
2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. But it just... And, with the reboots, like with RoboCop, they did reboot that, which was terrible. The reboot was terrible. And Total Recall, again, which a really boring movie, or the reboot, obviously. And with stuff like Jumanji, which, we already talked about.
Yeah.
I really, I I just wish they would leave the classics alone.
You know, I watched this one video that Nostalgia Critic uploaded, and it was surprisingly very well to the point. More than any other video about the subject of reboots that I've ever watched before. And he basically gave the philosophy for movies: if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I never thought of it like that way before. And he also gave some really good advice, saying that movies that weren't well done before, or had its flaws before, but had, at its core an interesting concept, should be really the ones we should be working to reboot. Because, and I overheard my dad talking about this before too. Like, there were some movies that were made that had like crappy cast or bad effects or just not enough funding in general, but had good concepts. And if we were to kind of upgrade their status in Hollywood and make full-blown movies out of them, that we might get like really good concepts in movies instead of like tired old reboots that we've been getting in previous years.
I'm really disappointed with what they're doing now, but I just think that we can't stop them from making these reboots.
If only we could.
But I just wish they could at least make them better, because not only the reboots, just the movies where they revisit the other ones, like Terminator Genisys, was not great. So I just wish they would at least try to make it a little more interesting.
That was another thing that me and you actually talked about before, was that movies try to be relatable to kids nowadays. I don't want that, and I'm a kid. The thing is, what we were talking about was the thing with Terminator, for example. Terminator, when it was first released, was rated R. And you could, very much tell that. There was tons of violence. There was, a sex scene. There was, a lot of, the characters went through some traumatic stuff in that movie. And, it definitely earned its place in being rated R. And the thing is, that was back in the days where ratings were actually more lenient, when people could get away with PG like way more often than they could now. But the most recent movie, Terminator Genisys, is PG-13, which I don't really approve of. I think it should keep claiming its R-rated status.
Yeah, because if it is rated, if it's rated R, then families as a whole aren't going to be able to go into theaters and buy the tickets and watch it with the whole family. So if it's rated PG-13, you could watch it with
you could bring your kids.
Yeah,
it could sort of be, in a weird way, a family movie.
Yeah, and with even with that exact same thing happened with RoboCop with their reboot. It was PG-13, probably for the reason we just talked about, because there's no reason that it should not be rated R. Yeah. But it wasn't, which was really disappointing. to me because I really liked the original, but the new one just kind of took a huge dump on that whole great story that the original had.
Yeah, the thing about, for another example of, the ratings and stuff is with how Disney has taken over Star Wars.
Yeah.
There's been Star Wars was never rated R, obviously. It it was rated PG from the beginning, but the thing is, it wasn't afraid to go into a bit more like mature depths. But I think that's like what the new like Disney brand of Star Wars is, a bit timid about. And the perfect example I could give to you is with the new show called Rebels. Some of you might have, heard of it being advertised maybe like a year or two ago when it first came out. And the thing is with Rebels, it's definitely a kid's show, like without a doubt.
It really just, it felt like this group of young kids, how relatable to, get the younger audience to watch. This group of young kids, which pretty much just seem like the type of kids that rebel against their parents.
They're weird.
And they're going on their own adventures and doing all this Star Wars-y crap. And it's not great.
But the thing I was saying about it before was Rebels is obviously a product of Disney, but before there was Rebels, there was the Clone Wars show. And the thing about the Clone Wars show, it was increasingly becoming more adult. Again, that's something I don't mind.
A little more dark.
Yeah, it got a little dark. And, a bit emotional too, but that actually gave it more depth to the story, and that's what started bringing in the fans in the later seasons. Because it originally started off as like kind of a bright, sunshiny kid show about Star Wars, but it eventually kind of ascended into that. But again, it gave it more depth. It actually seemed pretty appropriate, even though it was, Star Wars. But unfortunately, that was canceled, and again, in place of it is Rebels. And that's when people started, to lose interest. But that's really one of the good examples of, rebooting all this stuff, and trying to make it relatable. People don't like that. Larger audiences, I'm sure, can be drawn if you make it, a bit more tailored to a certain group.
Because, for reference, I'll just use RoboCop. The reason why people liked RoboCop in the first place was, because it was so violent. And they enjoyed seeing, and, they, with the reboot, they take away all of that. And, you might have, people dying, but it's not the same as how they did it in the original. And even though they're trying to get a more younger audience, I feel like they could have a bigger audience if it was rated R, because it seems like they're too afraid to make it a little more mature.
Yeah, about the certain ratings and how they, pertain to kind of a more narrow audience that kind of excludes kids, but not necessarily. I mean, parents are parents. I mean, at least there are a ton of parents out there, ours included, who have, let us watch R-rated, movies now and again, and are just fine with it.
Now and again, I watched Pulp Fiction with Dad. Mom showed me freaking a RoboCop.
Yeah, but that's
now and again. You gotta get more on it.
That's kind of besides the point, but I'm talking about having a more narrow audience. Obviously R-rated movies kind of exclude people a bit, especially kids. But anyways, I was on YouTube. I was watching this one video. I cannot for the life of me remember what it is, but it had to do about creators and their certain content, and whoever this person was who made this video, he said that it's essential for your channel to have a certain audience, a certain demographic that you want to reach. And ironically, if your channel claims to be all inclusive of everyone, you're actually going to get the least amount of response and the least amount of views. Now that's very ironic, since the people who actually tailor their channels to people like gamers or whatever, they're the ones that receive exponentially more attention. And I think the movie industry could use a little bit of that.
Because what's happening is when they do make a channel like that, or even a movie like that, and try to make it more for all of the family, they're removing all of the parts that the older audience enjoys. So you have the entire older audience just not interested, and you have this tiny audience of little kids that do enjoy that. And that audience, the older audience, is usually people like teens, adults, right? Really just teens and adults.
Yeah.
Is a bigger audience than just kids, because teens really don't want to watch freaking, what's his name, Stampy, freaking Minecraft gameplays. They probably just want something else, just not Minecraft. And neither do adults. Younger adults may want a gaming channel or something, but other older adults probably don't care as much, but they're still part of the older demographic.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we've got all the movies and games. Now it's about TV shows. So, TV shows we've seen. I feel like a lot of the shows we've seen, you guys have seen.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Simpsons, Futurama, Rick and Morty. They've all seen that.
Yeah. Well, there are a ton of old sitcoms that we like to watch, and really it was because of our dad that we were introduced to them.
Yeah. Married with Children.
Wings. Wings was a really popular one because it was on. Well, as they said, it was on all the time. They kept on showing Wings.
Well, everybody knows Seinfeld.
Yeah, Seinfeld, obviously.
Nobody even watches Seinfeld anymore. Now it's just an old meme.
Yeah. I kind of hate the meme community for that, especially with the Bee Movie thing, because I genuinely enjoyed that movie as a kid.
Oh yeah, as a kid, yeah. But uh, kind of what they do is like if they memify I don't know, something like Grand Theft Auto 5. They memify that, and then it becomes an old meme. You're suddenly, uh,
It suddenly
you,
has like this.
if you play it after the meme is old, then it sort of just becomes you being not cool because you still enjoy old memes.
It has like this depressing and lifeless feel. And I know this is very, very off topic, but the thing about memes and the meme community is that once they have like a particular fixation, they will not stop referencing it. And after a few weeks or a few months of constant referencing,
Now it's a few days.
It starts to wear down a bit, and that's actually how you like suck the life out of it, is because you're constantly tired of hearing this, and you've heard it so many times before that it gets really exhausted.
It's like seeing how long a Bugatti can last in a mud pit. Eventually it's just gonna stop working and you don't even care anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the TV shows. We've already talked about quite a bit of TV shows already, like Clone Wars and everything, but
Rebels.
yeah,
Same thing, but
yeah, Rick and Morty season 3 is coming out, and you got Pickle Rick, Szechuan sauce. It's really gonna be a cool thing going on there.
Yeah, I kind of hated them for posting releasing the first episode of the season on April 1st, just as a prank. That shows you how far they'll go, because, they uploaded that video, or that, the actual first episode as an April Fool's prank. But they're not going to release, the rest of the season for, months. Or, in our case, like right now, only a month. But I just find it kind of funny since, everyone was in, such anticipation these past, 2 years by now, almost.
Is there any other shows we've seen? There's not a lot of shows to talk about. I mean,
that aren't old by now.
There is stuff like superhero shows like what we were talking about before, but we haven't really watched those.
Yeah,
which is actually the whole point of talking about them earlier.
Yeah, I'm not really informed on those shows.
We could talk about like something like the Simpsons or Futurama, but many other people have talked about that already.
Huh.
So there's not a lot of shows to really talk about. Actually, going back to the movies real quick. It is coming out in September 8th, I think.
Yeah.
Which is the day the book was finished. Yeah, September 8th, I think. I think it was when it was finished.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to that. I guess now we could kind of rehash everything we were talking about. If we missed anything, I think there was a game trailer that I was thinking of, but couldn't really find it. Oh, there's Injustice 2, which honestly I don't really have that much interest for it. It looks like a cool concept to take your superheroes, kind kind of make them fight each other, which is sort of the plot of Civil War, except this is a little different.
DC.
Yeah.
It's a different universe.
See if there's anything else that we can talk about. What was that? I was just thinking of. Oh yeah, Logan was a movie that had come out. I really was not interested in Logan.
It seemed decent, but not nearly as flashy as the other movies that came out before it, at least by Marvel standards.
Oh yeah, I forgot they're making a Spider-Man PlayStation game. A Spider-Man PlayStation game, yeah. Which I think is supposed to come out in a couple months. See if they've anything. I think now we should sort of talk about do you think we should talk about YouTube? Or should we save that for later? Or we could just talk about this now and then split the podcast.
Like how many minutes do you want each to be?
Well, this one was an hour, so the next one could be 30 minutes at least.
I think we should save it. I'm a bit tired.
No, we'll do. Alright, fine.
It's been like an hour and a half.
Yeah,
dude.
it has been an hour. So I guess later we could talk about YouTube, because there's been a lot of controversy about how it's
with like the trending and stuff.
Well, not specifically trending, but that is one of the things that I would have talked about.
Yeah.
But yeah, just pretty much YouTube's stupid decisions with it. So we might talk about those another time. But yeah, it's been pretty interesting talking about all this straight for an hour. 100 megabytes, really? That's what this audio file is, just 160 megabytes. I thought it'd be like a couple gigabytes.
Huh. That'd be insane, really, like just one audio file.
One audio file is only 160 megabytes. I think because usually when we record the screen recording, it's a lot
more, right?
Yeah, it's a lot more because it has the video as well.
Yeah.
So the audio, an hour-long audio file is apparently just 160 megabytes. So yeah, if you guys like this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. At least on this channel, we don't post. We post like every half of a year.
I loved how that sparked a whole commentary, but
yeah. So if you guys like this video, be sure to comment, subscribe. Post new videos every month.
And goodbye.